What's going on, people? Welcome to the live match reaction. Villa 3, Palace 1. We're going to be reacting to the game. As always, we're going to be wanting to hear what you thought about the game. So make sure to leave down your comments in the comment section down below. And also, the calls are live right now where you can call into the show by clicking on the pinned comment. We'll have you on one by one. Let's try to hit over 100 likes, people. I'm going to be honest. We started a bit late, but I genuinely can't remember being as mad towards a referee as I've been. But before we talk about the referee, T, your thoughts on the game?
I'm right there with you, man. Like I was worried about being able to do the show just because I wasn't gonna be able to keep my composure. But to play so well for 85 minutes, and first of all, I'm not gonna take anything away from Villa on that first goal. The first goal was fantastic by Jahan Duran, but I don't know, man. I just it strikes me that the Premier League is considered the greatest or the best league in the world, but their officiating is so subpar, so subpar. I don't really have much to say, man. I'm just gonna let the show go. And
I'm not going to be nice. I think Darren England is a egotistic twat. I think that's the only way of putting it across it, because that was not a penalty. That's not a penalty. I think Mike Dean has said it for Sky Sports. Mike Dean, ex-Premier League referee. Paul Merson's also said it. Everyone said it. And even Darren England knew it as well, but he just didn't want to be proven wrong because he is egotistic. He absolutely flipping ruined this fucking game by not going with the VAR decision. There's a reason why it was called on a monitor. He could see it. He was watching it for 3-4 minutes. Chris Richards won the ball. He won the ball. VAR was explaining that to him clearly, but he kept on replay after replay after replay. How many eyes do you need? How many eyes do you need to see the decision is wrong? How many eyes? It's fine. You can get something wrong. That's why VAR is there. I can accept losing. I've been here many times after losses, but I've not been as mad as I am right now. Palace should put a complaint because it's fucking ridiculous, man. We're in the Premier League, the best league in the world. He's crazy. He's out of his mind if he thinks that's a penalty. It wasn't a penalty. It wasn't. You can watch it over and over again. You have that privilege. How do you still get it wrong? There's a reason why VAR brought you to the monitor. And we lose the game like that. I would have accepted losing. I would have accepted it if they scored a normal goal, but not by that penalty. Not by that penalty. Not by you going to the monitor and looking at it and still getting it wrong. That is piss poor. You're not fit enough to referee. If I'm Palace right now, if I'm Steve Parish right now, I am calling up the Premier League and putting a complaint. He shouldn't officiate. He shouldn't. If he can't get basic decisions like that right, he shouldn't be able to officiate. He cost us a game. I would have been happy with a point, but not losing in that manner. Let us lose by the third goal that they scored or something like that, but not by the referee getting it wrong. Darren England, you are piss poor. You are not fit enough to officiate in the Premier League, and there's no other words I could put by that. You should be sacked after this game immediately because you just proven it today that you're not fit enough. And it's not only just this game. Whenever Darren England has refed our games, and games in general, he just looks shit. If this is the best quality refs that we have in this country, then we are in a mess. Because these referees, if Darren England is one of the best referees that we have, we should all be worried. Because he is not good enough for the Premier League. He hasn't been before this game. He won't be after this game because it's simple as that. Some people have their limits. And Darren England, you are not good enough for the English Premier League. Palace, after this game, should be asking for answers because we deserve answers. It's genuinely pathetic. It's pathetic that you can like, I just don't understand it. If it was a penalty, fair enough. He wins the ball. Even when we're watching it on the screen, you can see it. Richards wins the ball. As he wins the ball, that's when Ollie Watkins is falling down. He wins the ball. What else do you want to see? I don't know anymore, T. I don't know what to say. What can you say? What do we do from here onwards? Let us lose the game. We can talk about decisions. We can talk about decisions on the pitch, subs, whether we could have defended better. We could talk about that, but not like this, man. Not like this. Come on. You're Premier League referee. Get rid of Darren England immediately. He's simply not good enough. He's not good enough, and he cost us points today. Simple as. And I can't accept that. I can accept a lot of things, and you lot probably know me that I've come on these streams. We've lost loads of games. I blame the team. I blamed everything else. But today, I'm sorry, that was flipping piss poor. That's fucking piss poor, man. I just can't hack it. But before we even continue, my head is gone. Before we continue, people, praise to Roy. He was unwell going into this game. Of course, he was on the sidelines. So praise to Roy. Hopefully, it's nothing too serious because apparently he was in contact with Paddy McCarthy and Ray Lewington as well. So hopefully, it's something precautionary and it's just normal illness, nothing too serious. Yeah. Praise up to him. But yeah, man, it just ruins games for me. I'm just sick. I'm bored. I'm bored of this. I'm bored of these referees. Yeah, this is wrong. But when you have a flipping screen, when you're looking at screen for 3-4 minutes, then you still get it wrong. That I can't accept. That I just can't accept. That's just piss poor. But look, let's bring on the first guest of the show, and that will be Chris. Chris, I'm upset from the referee. You can have the floor. What do you make of the game?
I promise I'm not trying to wind you up, D, but as much as Darren England's a prick and loves himself like too many modern referees, I think like the last 10, 15, 20 years, it's been about them. We've all know like the Clattenburg, for example, those sort of songs. And there's too many that have pally with the top players. When they started calling the Chelsea players by their first name and like apologising to people like Terry for booking, that's when it all changed. And we just embarrass ourselves as a quality referee in the country compared to other leagues. You watch other leagues, they use VAR pretty well. They use everything else pretty well, not perfectly. But I mean, I know, I promise you, I'm not going to wind up there. I promise you, I don't want you to like throw something at your monitor, but it isn't just down to Darren England today. Like from about 65 minutes in, our players are knackered and they were giving everything. Despite that, I didn't like their short sprints and even Schlupp and that looked so exhausted, but they were doing what they needed to do. They were doing it very effectively, using their last 1% of energy really well. And whether it was Roy or Ray, I'm not slagging Roy off, especially not today, but whether it's Roy or Ray or Paddy who's making that call, you keep looking at the bench, you think they haven't got much there, but they were screaming out. They were all completely knackered. They've been to North America, South America, Africa, wherever it might be this last couple of weeks. And we had nothing on that bench. We had two keepers again. But it's not all down to Darren England. There's so much time and so many hints in that game that showed we're knackered. And Villa would just bring off speed merchant after speed merchant off the bench. And it was just obvious that we were going to get done over. Richard had a blinding game, and so did Hughes. They both stepped in straight in to the team and made a great impression. I don't think anyone's particularly bad. Yeah, some people saying that Eze didn't finish his chances, but they're mostly created by him. And he's not got the mentality of Wilf yet, where he's quite ready to drag the whole team behind him, like a dog and a sledge behind him, just do it himself. He's getting there, especially against the lower teams in the league, but it's not just down to Eze. I think a lot of the blame goes to that. You just bring on pace for pace. You bring on Ahamada to just track someone who's fast that they brought on. Just do anything you can, but our players just look gone, absolutely gone for a long time. And it was obvious to anyone that's seen it before. I had that kind of air of Vieira when we kept throwing away games, that we're not doing anything to stop this or change this or matching their changes. And it was too late when we did bring on Raksaki had 3 minutes of the 400 minutes added time to try and change it again. And then it doesn't really help his ego either to go, right, we're 3-1 down, Raksaki, so let's see what you got now. But I think as for the penalty, just before I finish waffling, as for the penalty, again, I'm not winding you up. The Villa fans, they were on his back the whole game. They were pissed off of England. He gave us a fair amount of calls. But if you're going to be pedantic like England, there are people encroaching in that penalty area more than I've seen for a long time.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything about that. No one gave him a call near, retake that one, get that retaken. But actually, actual incident, I've watched it a lot, and England has watched it a lot, and VAR watched it a lot. And I can't tell you if in the first phase of that, Richard Studs scraped the ball or not. If they didn't, then technically he went through the play at the same time as the ball, and that is a penalty. If they did, then it is. Sorry, if they did touch it, it's not a penalty. But within the split second, he given that without thinking at it, without looking at it, without looking at the lino, he gave it like it was dead cert. And as you say, I think his ego got a bit damaged. I don't know who the fourth official of the VAR is, but a lot of it is seniority. So whether it's someone who's brand new to the game in the truck going, oh yeah, I don't want to upset you, Dan, because you're my boss for a while, and I taught everything I need to, taught me everything I need to know in the school. I think it's like a fear factor that, and of course it's a bigger team. Now despite what I said now, trying to defend England to it a little bit, if that's the other way around, if that's at Selhurst Park, and that's Eze getting clattered by, well, not means he's injured, but I don't know who's their centre back. Any centre back in that bracket, anyone from Spurs or Villa or any of those teams, and that's up front of the White Horse Lane end or the Holmesdale, never mind, corner kick, up you get. That's it. There's no review. There's not even a fucking review. I can guarantee that. And the game goes on. But because it's Villa at that end, because Watkins falls over and he's an England player and he makes the most of it, the rest absolutely certain, no doubt, he might as well just elbow him, because within a split second that whistle had gone and he's pointed at the spot like it was the most dead set thing you've ever seen. So like I say, I'm pissed off at him, but I'm also a little bit sick of us getting to this almost next level, getting a great result with Villa the whole time, but shooting ourselves in the foot by not making the changes and not being proactive. We're always like reactive. Where there's like other team down the street and in Brighton, they're going to Man United and they're just pushing them back and always got a plan. And when they're 1-0 up, it's not enough. It's not enough. They keep going for it. That's the difference.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from with the subs, because I did think like even early in the second half, Schlupp looked absolutely knackered, and it's confusing why we kicked him down the right hand side in the first place, because he just seemed like he didn't have the legs, and they got him behind a few times.
Whole time.
Yeah, he got him behind. They got behind a few times because Wardy, we know Wardy. I mean, the less I speak, the better, but doesn't have the most legs as he did before, so he needs support, and Schlupp didn't give him the support at times, so that's how they got down the right hand side a few times. I just saw it over and over. That's how they're getting behind. So I was surprised they didn't make that change. So yeah, look, it is frustration. It is frustrating in that element as well, because we could have potentially made changes. But for me, I mean, it all goes down. We managed to still survive to the 92nd or 93rd minute with them two. And it comes down to not us conceding a goal from open play, it's us conceding a very dodgy penalty decision, which I think you just have to look at the officials, which is absolutely shocking. It's just shocking. I just don't know other ways to put it, Chris. I really don't. But look, Chris, looking ahead to the next game against Fulham, now we need the 3 points, I guess, if you want to, make sure we don't fall behind. It won't be an easy game, but it's at home.
No, it won't be a Fulham, you never know. And Silva does well with that team. And they've got game plans for different situations. And if they go 1-0 up, they won't just hope and pray that if their players look knackered, it'll be enough. They'll have other ideas. But I mean, we had the 21s and the 18s yesterday. It's got to be worth saying to Darren Powell or Rob Quinn, look, we're a bit short of players. Turns out Lerman's injured. Turns out so-and-so's injured. Can we have one of them? You know what I mean? For the Saturday game. But we just don't do it. It seems to be like a very clear divide in who's staying in which squad. And people like Rakzaki don't even get the minutes. But no, I'm still angry. Don't get me wrong. I'm just trying to keep it like objectional. And if I was a neutral, how I would have seen that penalty. But I can't remember last time that firstly it took that long to go and look at the monitor and not change your mind. Well, no one ever changes their mind, do they? No, I mean, no one ever sticks to a decision. I mean, everyone always changes their mind when they're taking.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, VAR called it for a reason, Chris. They saw something as well. I think even that's what I'm saying. I heard that Mike Dean said it. Apparently, Paul Merson said it. I don't know who else said it. That is not penalty. VAR probably thought that it was not a penalty as well. That's why he's at a monitor. VAR trying to explain this decision, but he's got this ego. You can tell that he's got this ego saying, no. Like he's not being serious about it. That's why I hate the most. That's what I hate the most about it. Like it's fine. You can get a decision wrong, but just like,
Wolves and Forest have both been robbed at Old Trafford, and they released Forest first took it to the FA, and then Wolves had the comms released, didn't they? But almost I want to hear what his justification for that was. It'll piss me off even more. It'll probably come out in 2 weeks' time when I've almost forgotten about it, and then we're here yet again that what Dan England said to this bloke to say, no, I'm definitely right, Anyway,
it's
only a
crazy.
game, and obviously the biggest thing is that Roy's okay.
Yeah, well, yeah. Hopefully, a speedy recovery for Roy as well. But look, Chris, thank you for coming on. We'll chat to you hopefully after a more positive result or referee performance after
One day.
Appreciate it, Chris.
I hope we don't talk about the referee next week. All right, then take care, Chris.
Thanks, man.
If you want to call in, make sure to click on the pinned comment to join us live, and also make sure to leave a like and subscribe, people, if you're new here as well. Let's bring on Nick. I know Nick's been waiting, and he was at the game as well. Nick, you was at the game. Are you there? Can you hear us? Can you hear us? I don't know if his connection is that great.
I don't think his thing's working.
Nick, we'll try bring you back on, but your connection's a bit jumpy right now, I think. But we'll try bring you back on in just a second. Let's bring on Patrick next. Patrick.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. You can probably hear in my voice. You heard it in my rant as well. I'm annoyed. Look, we could have lost that game. Yes, that's fine with it, but I'm just annoyed in the manner that we lost. But what do you make of it, Patrick?
Bullshit penalty. This was a regular cup of coffee until it turned into an Irish coffee, because that was just a horrible call. And when Mike Dean was saying that it's not a penalty, that dude was a clown referee. So when the worst referee I've ever seen says it's not a penalty, it's not a penalty. I mean, that it's just as simple as that. That's the reason I don't like to blame refs for the reason you lose a game, but that is the textbook way of how you lose a game. We should have had 1 point out of there and been done. I think my point about last year about the Patty being the top guy today is the reason why he shouldn't be, because there, like you said, Schultz was tired. That game was calling out for fresh legs. I don't care if it's Roy would have made those substitutions. It might have not been to the 75th minute, but Raksaki would have got a few minutes. Amato would have got a few minutes. But look, I'm not going to condemn any of our players' efforts, because I thought all of them did to the best of their ability. Anderson was a little shaky today in defense, but he's got a new partner, so you can forgive that. Richards was all over the place. I can't condemn anybody's effort. I am concerned about our midfield for one reason. Their passing ability to maintain the ball all off today. It seems like every time we're going on a counter attack, a ball's coming off somebody's leg. But other than that, it's just you just can't in a loss like this. You just can't. I got a big mouth and I'm losing words. It's just a tough loss. I saw a lot of positives though. Team spirit, fighting for each other. The way the defense was blocking shots coming in from every angle. If they put in that collective team effort, we'll be fine. That's the best way I can look at it.
Yeah,
and I hope Roy gets back to
100%. Well, look, Patrick, how I see it as well, there were a lot of positives today. I mean, even in the second half, when we're putting our bodies on the line, it felt like a cup final. We're just running towards the ball at the edge of the box, putting our bodies on the line, and that's what pisses me off even more, because we put all of that effort to be robbed by a very dodgy penalty decision. That's what annoys me the most.
Well, what's the shame of it is if we would have won that game 1-0, people would have been talking about how well Mateta linked up with Edouard today coming off the bench. And they were both looking for each other. Now, we talked about we all would have liked them to start the game together because of the lack of depth, I guess. If something happens, then there's no backup plan, so to speak. But I think going into next week, injuries might make this happen. I think we definitely need to play those two up together. I mean, and that's the shame of it, because even though he hasn't scored a Premier League goal, every time this year he's come in with the effort, he's done something well. Since that second half of the was it not Portsmouth? Oh God, who do we play in the cup? I'm sorry,
Man United.
No, the second round. Who did we? Yeah, Plymouth. Since that game, since then, there's something to them two working together. And I like to see that develop more, especially since Elise is still a few weeks away. Now, hopefully the IU thing is not going to be long-term, because without him on that right side covering Joe Ward, well, we pretty much saw what happened, even though Schultz did his best for 60-some minutes.
Yeah. He just looked a bit knackered for me, though. That's when you question the people on the touchline today as well. Look, I think we played great defensively. We put bodies on the line, but Schlupp looked knackered from early on, and I just don't get why he wasn't subbed off. I mean, I would have subbed him off for Hamada. Hamada came on, I think that one, maybe Edward was tired as well, but then you just put in extra players off the bench. You just needed that extra bodies because down the right-hand side, first of all, Schlupp is not a player to play down the right-hand side, and two,
he's not a player to play down the left-hand side, but I get your point.
Yeah, exactly, and that's a big question as well, maybe in terms of fatigue. But then again, if it was a case of we lost from and look, their goal that they scored was fantastic, you can do nothing about it. But then again, we're talking about last few minutes of extra time, of added time, and we could see we lose by that penalty decision. It's hard for me to talk about. Look, that's one area that we could have potentially questioned, but. The question still goes back at the referee. Despite Schlupp being tired, despite our players looking tired, we still held our ground as much as we can. I
look at it as, and I'm not going to target Eze today, but I just think, I don't know what you're going to do with your player ratings, but to me, he was like a 6.5. And only reason he's a 6.5 because he just, every time on that break on the counter, he's either been too casual or missing the run, the pass is getting blocked or the ball's taken off him. It seemed like that right back with Matty Cash. He took the ball off him, all big opportunities, but we missed that because of that bullshit call, pardon the expression. But and those things, and we would have sealed that game off. But again, I'm not blaming players. Those guys played 105 minutes, even up to the last minute, they're still trying to push the ball. Something I did like Raksaki, even though he only came on for 3 minutes, lost the ball, got it back, kept fighting. Like that's the kind of spirit you want to see, even in a game where we got flat out. The point got robbed from us, point blank, and that's that. The third goal, who gives a shit? We got all our guys.
The game is done, exactly. Yeah, the game is done by the second goal. That's what I'm saying. That goal cost us massively.
Yeah, but guys, I'm gonna let you go. I'm sure you got other people need to get on here, but I think Fulham. I think that's 3 points we can. Fulham looked like garbage today against Luton, like hot garbage. I'm not worried about that game. They got a good roster. I think they got a roster to keep them up. They got a good manager, but I think we'll just be so pissed. We're playing the game at home. I know the Palace fans will get them up for it. And God help the referee if we get that same referee again.
100%. Take care, Patrick. Thank you for calling into the show.
Take care, Patrick, man. Thanks, man.
Take care.
That was Patrick having to say, if you want to have your say, click on the pinned comment, whether you agree, disagree with us, join us live and call into the show. If you're enjoying the stream as well, let's hit the like button as well and subscribe to not miss out on future Palace content, people. Let's bring on Rich and JC next. What's going on, guys? Defeat 3-1. It feels weird saying that. I mean, watching 9 minutes of that game, it didn't feel like we was going to lose 3-1. We could have lost the game, but what did you make of it?
It's harsh.
It's very harsh, yeah. I think we navigated those 87 minutes perfectly. It took an absolute great goal. Like when you break down that equaliser, Mitchell was actually touch tack to him. There's nothing we could have done about that equaliser. And the game just turns on his head with that. I don't think it was a penalty. I've looked at it quite a few times. At first I was like, yeah, it's a penalty.
I can understand why it is a penalty. I can understand why it is, because you can see that Richard's got two movements when in the slide tackle. The first movement is he hooks his leg back, which inevitably goes in line with where Watkins is running, and then his second movement is sweeping the ball away. If his first movement was just tapping the ball away, that's it, it's fine. I think the VAR would look at it and go, yeah, that's definitely not a penalty. But I think the fact that his leg sweeps back slightly in the path of Watkins, and Watkins went over the leg, I can see why it was given. Granted, with the penalty that was taken, Diaby was encroaching big time. Like, man was like a few feet inside the box, so that should have at least been taken again.
But here's where I disagree. When you actually slow it down and you see, so Richard's leg does go across, but there's no contact with anyone. As Watkins is running into Richard's leg, it's at the same moment where he's hooking the ball away.
Yeah.
And this is the reason why VAR said, have a look at this. This is down to Darren in England now. Yeah. And I think personally, he's just like, I can't look like an idiot here.
Yeah, but then what I would say to you again is, how many times has Zaha knocked the ball past a player, they've stuck their leg out and Zaha's gone over the player? gone over the leg that's been stuck. It's
I'm
essentially the same thing.
Yeah,
but
I'm
in
not
slide
faulting
tackle form.
I'm not faulting Watkins at all, because that's clever striker play.
Yeah.
This is a Darren England issue.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a penalty.
And I'm sure that's probably one of the many few times that the referee's gone to the monitor and not changed their mind. I'm sure the only other time was our was a penalty
Jota.
for us. It was Jota's penalty for us. No.
This guy saved us over 2 minutes.
And I'm sure that was Darren England as well. No.
So he's got this weird obsession with us, and I don't know what it is, but I just think he's a weird referee in the first place. Like, I just don't think he's good enough for the Premier League. But I'll be honest, JC, I do agree with Rich, because I thought I saw a similar thing. I get where you're coming from, but I feel like the contact, the way that Watkins started dropping it was very close to when Rich has actually kicked the ball as well. So it wasn't that. I think that's what VAR saw as well, and that's why they was having a lengthy discussion. It was not a case of Darren England went there and said, "Cool, I'm going to stick my decision."
Definitely,
because I think VAR was trying to explain the same situation to him. And apparently Mike Dean said that it was a penalty as well, and he saw all angles. So I just it hurts. It hurts losing like that. I don't mind losing, because I think they scored a great first goal.
I'm not saying I think it was
chances, but
I think it. Yeah, I don't think it was a penalty, but I can see why they gave it as one. That's sort of what I was trying to get across.
Yeah. Especially with Darren England.
It was definitely a game of two halves, because we could have been 4 down. We could have been 4-0 down.
Well, we could have also scored goals as well, though, Rich. We went in behind a few times, especially the likes of Eze.
Yeah, second half we were so much better. So much better second half.
Yeah. I think Roy's game plan sort of shone through again, even though Roy wasn't there. Get in at half time and then make a change, which we seemed to do pretty well. We made the change and we went 1-0 up very early on.
Yeah, we had to make that change early. You know, we're picking up too many injuries.
Yeah,
man.
I think seeing what we've done today with the injuries and IU as well going off, he's probably one of our best players so far this season. We have not disgraced ourselves at all in this game.
Yeah, it just hurts the way that it's. Yeah, of course. Even though I don't know what you guys thought, but I think even the efforts of the players was fantastic. It was like a cup final sometimes when they put their bodies on the line. That's why I'm hurt for them, because a decision like that put all them efforts aside. We lost. We got nothing out of this game. From a decision like that, I can accept that losing element. I accept that, if they scored a goal like they did first goal, that'd be fine. But a questionable decision like that, it hurts me, because I genuinely feel like the players put all their efforts in to get something.
Yeah.
And maybe we could have made subs, because some of them were fatigued, but the effort was there. I could see that the effort was there. And that's what hurts even more. And you made a very good point about, injuries, because Rich has played today with Anderson. You had the midfield as well, with Decore not having Lerman next to him. And then Ayew, he got subbed off very early on as well. Injuries are racking up, but hopefully in the next game, we'll see maybe the likes of Elise at least being on the bench, or, hopefully Isaac injuries are serious. But overall, today's positives, as you said, Rich, second half, Mateta, and Edouard, great link-up play once again. Do you think it's a case of now you have to start them both together? Because every time they're on the pitch, we're getting goals.
Absolutely. And I also want to give Hughesy a shout out. He was brilliant today.
Yeah, coming back from an injury.
Yeah,
first
and
game
Decore
back
as well was very good as well.
He's really good.
Yeah,
So,
I think one question I'd like to ask you guys is, obviously everything went wrong in the later stages of injury time. When Johnstone went down, do you think we maybe should have made that sub for Henderson, keep the injury time lower? Because that would have been faster than what we've done. We were spending 5 minutes, 6 minutes just messing around with Johnstone. So maybe why not actually use Henderson? We spent £20 million on a goalkeeper. Why not use him in this situation?
But then I don't know what T thinks, but the problem with that is you've got 15 minutes left of a game, and we're still leading at that point. Is it like a bit too much pressure on it? I don't know if Henderson would want to come on for the last 15 minutes. It's a bit... But yeah, I get what you're saying. If Sam Johnson is fit, and which seemed like he was okay to play, then I would still keep him on the pitch, because I thought he was, the team was relatively comfortable. But in that moment, for example, we had 5 minutes or so to think about our whole game plan. You can look at players being fatigued. Maybe we could have made subs elsewhere. We could have made a bit more shuffling like that, because that was a great point to do them changes. And maybe that's what we could have done. But I was not too upset with Johnson staying on the pitch.
I don't know. For me, I think in that situation, especially when you're dealing with the type of injury that he was dealing with lower extremity, and for a goalkeeper being able to push off and dive and things, I wouldn't have took that precaution. I would have took him off, to be honest with you. These dudes are professional athletes. You should be able to deal with the pressure of the last 15 minutes. Like, you're a professional, and we paid $20 million for you. You should be able to perform in this situation. It's not like we're bringing you in a situation where, you know, the game is decided in any way. I mean, I feel like you just come on, you do your job, period. But that's a great point to make about JC, about the time being wasted. You know what I'm saying?
It's a long time.
And conserving, you know.
Because if we didn't do that, the injury time is probably 4 or 5 minutes, but that was 9 minutes. That's a long time.
Yeah. So that's a good point. I mean, my thing is, especially with a goalkeeper, in that situation, if he's not at his best, if he's not at 100% in that situation, it can be more of a liability to keep him in that situation. Now, I'm not saying that Sam Johnston's injuries that he was dealing with, or sustained, that was dealing with, had anything to do with us losing the match by any means. But you do make a really good point about that too, though.
Yeah.
I guess the only other thing we could have done maybe is just made a few changes a bit earlier. I think the only one change, because to be fair, Eze was gassed, Schlupp was gassed. They worked hard.
They worked hard. Yep.
They worked very hard.
Yeah, what's the point in keeping Jez if we're not going to use him, really?
What was the point of
Hamada, one of the two?
All 105 minutes. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, the subs were questionable. I'll be honest. They were questionable. The timing of them, did we do enough? And the reason why I'm saying that is not because we lost. I was even thinking that during the game as well. These players look tired. They genuinely look very tired. And I was thinking Hamada for Schlupp, that would have just made sense for me. I know you can make the question, can he play out wide? But he has played out wide in preseason. It looked decent as well. Just as energy-wise, you know, trying to help out Joe Ward. So it didn't happen. We lose the game. But for you two, looking into the Fulham game, can you see some positives going into that game from this one?
Definitely.
Yeah, massive positives. Look at our squad at the minute. It's thin, and we're not shaming ourselves in these games. You know, I will be honest. I came into the Villa game thinking, I'll take a draw. You know, just because everything's happened, hearing Gay out, Lerma out. I was just like, let's take a draw. But we could have gone away with 3 points today. You know. But yeah, we just have to make sure that we're more clinical at home to Fulham. We're definitely going to need the 3 points. And it seems like Luton gave them quite a bit of a challenge today as well. So hopefully we can put them to the sword.
Yeah. Fulham and Forest are huge games now.
Massive now, yeah.
So for us, we were looking at maybe 6 points within these next 4 league games, maybe even 7 at a push. And I think that would have been a good return. But that just makes the upcoming games even more important now.
Yeah. I agree. Look, thank you for coming on, Rich and JC. Shout out to Football as well. Make sure to go check them out. Take care, boys. So if we catch up with you again soon.
Sweet.
Take care. Thank you.
Okay, let's bring on. Tim's been waiting for a while. Then bring on Henry after that as well. Let's bring on Tim. Tim, defeat 3-1. I'll be honest. If you're just joining now, you was there before. I'm just crazy mad at the referee. Joe Ward, after the game, he said the following as well, Tim. He said that it's the penalty that killed it for me. It's never a penalty. I think Chris Richards touches the ball before and then flicks it to the keeper. Anywhere on the pitch, it's never been a foul or free kick. I think under pressure, it's gone the wrong way. For you, Tim, do you think that was the right call by the referee?
No. Not even close. I'm gutted for Richards because, I mean, I think you and I were chatting and, you know, during Live Palace News earlier this week. Like, Richards was brilliant during his international duty. I mean, he played, so in the 2 games that he played left-sided center back when Ream was in. And then the second game, Ream was out, and he played right-sided center back. So he was awesome. And he came into this, I think, with a lot of confidence. Now, I will say, I don't think the communication between the center backs was all that great. You know, I think you could see that we lacked something with Gay not being in there. But there's no chance. I fully agree with you, D. he gets the ball, he touches it back. Wardy says it right, and I agreed with your rant, but I don't think this, to me, feels like what I call here in the States, that's a homer call. That's a homer call. That's what that is. That is Darren England has made a call, and Chris made a great point. Like, that's close, and he goes right to penalty. He doesn't give it a second and let the VAR look at it, which is what he should have done. But he just, decisively does it.
Yeah,
and then he's looking at it.
His call at that point.
Yeah. And then he's looking at the I mean, you can see it. You can see that there is very clear evidence to overturn that, but he doesn't want to do it because he's in Villa Park. He doesn't want to do it because the Villa fans have been on him the whole game. And if he doesn't give it after he's given it on the pitch, then that place is going to absolutely explode. So he doesn't give it. That, I mean, to me, D, I mean, I don't mean to wind you up here like what, Chris was saying before, but I think that's a gutless call. I think that is a homer call. That's weak. What that is.
He's weak. Like, he should have realized that he made a mistake and just went with the VAR decision. And I'll be honest, Tim, if you can't handle the pressure, this is not any kind of job. We're talking about the Premier League. We're talking about one of the best leagues, if not the best league in the world. In my opinion, it is the best league in the world. You can see it with the results. You can see it with the competitiveness, and they get paid very good money as well. If you're getting paid very good money as a referee and you can't hack the pressure, I'm sorry, you're not good at your job. Time to move on. There should be if there isn't, then I'll hold my hands up, but there must be 100% better referees. I'm not only talking about in England, in the world, that we could recruit. Surely the Premier League should be able to recruit. Like this, if Darren England is the best that we have, we might as well call it a day because it's ridiculous.
Clearly not. And we aren't the only team that's been hard done, so far this year. I mean, ask Wolves how they feel about the Onana, non-call in week 1. Like, we're not the only ones to get hard done by refs. But this one, I'll move on because I want to hit positives. This one felt to me like Diogo Jota veering right into Vinny, and then he sells a penalty that is never, ever a penalty. Kevin Friend doesn't call it on the pitch, goes to VAR, takes 5 minutes to look at it, and then calls it. That's outrageous. It felt like that. I know it's not exactly the same, but the way it felt, it felt like that because of the consequences of this penalty. So I don't think 3-1 is in any way, not even remotely, reflective of the performance put in by Palace today. Not even in the same universe of reflective of the performances. So let me give a couple positives here, because I think there were some really good positives. I think Richardson and Anderson were a little out of sync, but Richards in his individual performances, I thought was great. And I thought it was the right call because we know Diaby has a lot of pace and he was getting back. He made some really good interventions when he needed to make interventions. I thought I agree with everybody who has said that Hughes had an absolute baller of a game. The fact that I think we did miss Gay. I'm not so sure that we missed Lerma nearly as much as I thought we were going to miss him. I still missed him, but Yuzi is every week that he is playing, he gives me more reasons to love him. I love Will Hughes. I thought he was an absolute baller today. I also thought that Eddie, as frustrating as he is, he had that moment. He had the moment in the second half where I just wanted Eddie to not be old Eddie, because he's coming down the left, he's bombing, he's giving himself a chance, and if he takes the snapshot and gets it on target, he's got a chance. But instead he runs it right out of bounds, which drives me absolutely up the wall. But other than that, Eddie and Mateta are very, very good together. Decore was terrific today. There were a lot of really good performances. Johnston makes good saves. So here's my my positive takeaway here. This team is good enough. It's too thin. The squad is too thin. But this team is good enough to take some big scalps. This team's good enough. This team is good enough to go to Man United during the League Cup and get a win. This team is good enough to do that. This team is good enough to go to Old Trafford and get a win. Honest to God, I think it's so frustrating to lose the way that we lost. And I fully agree with you there. But this team is good enough. This team is good enough. I think the setup, that's the other thing too. I'll give credit to Roy. By the way, I mean, Roy, I hope you're okay, man. Prayers for him. I hope gets back on his feet
There's an
soon.
update.
Well,
I'll
what's the
quickly read it
update?
out as you mentioned it. I think Paddy McCarthy spoke about it after the game, and he said that he's feeling better. We're all hopeful that he will continue to feel better, and he'll be back with us sooner rather than later.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. But I think the setup for this game, there were lots of spurned chances. There were some piss poor passes, like what Patrick said. There were some things that were, and then there were other things we were trying to get too cute, like a lot of back heels. Can you stop with the back heels? When you don't need to do them. Let's just progress the ball, get it on target, basics, and we can do it. But we're good enough. We are good enough. I thought the setup was good. There were a lot of good things here, and it should have been a point. And it sucks that it wasn't a point. Let me end on this one, D, and then I'll let you ask whatever you want to ask before we got to go. But this is why I like our model, because if you want to feel a little bit better about the way Palace is progressing as a club and what we're doing and financially and how we're managing ourselves, take a look at the nightmare that Everton is about to go through. The 777 group, which is a capital group that buys distressed assets in the United States, is coming for Everton. And they are terrified, and they should be, because that group is going to pile on a boatload of debt and that could kill that club. So as much as I get frustrated by sometimes the lack of business that we don't do, and we do need more depth in the squad, we're doing it right. We're just not doing it well enough. And I think we can get better. But you know what? There's a lot to like. I feel positive about the game, but pretty damn frustrated.
Yeah, it is. It's very frustrating, Tim. But look, thank you for coming on. You said you made a very, very good points about the game, the positives as well as the negatives. So hopefully against Fulham, we'll get a bit more of a positive result. It's now all on that. We have to bounce back against Fulham now. If you don't want to fall too far behind, hopefully we'll. But look, Tim, thank you for coming on to the show. Always a pleasure to talk to you.
You guys are the best, man.
Take care.
See you later.
T, I know you have to head off as well.
Yeah, man, I've had my share. I've had my full share, bro. But hey, thanks to everybody that tuned in, man. Appreciate all you guys. And as always, up the Palace. I'll see you guys later, man.
All right, then. See you later, T. See you later. If you want to call in to have your say, click on the pinned comment. Let's bring on the next guest, Henry. Henry, 3-1 defeat. Away from home, 1-0 up, then 1-1, then the last minute penalty decision. What do you make of the game?
I'm really pissed, to be honest. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I'm in a terrible mood after that. I mean, that penalty was just ridiculous. I've watched it back so many times, and I just can't comprehend how that's been given as a penalty. Like, literally, he gets the ball. The first time he gets the ball, not only does he get the ball, he then hooks his foot and plays it back to Johnston, which is actually quite a hard thing, like considering that Watkins is fast and he was through on goal. And that just killed the game. But no, I mean, spineless refereeing. I don't know. I really can't get my head around that. But I thought it was a really weird match because although we got through it with, nearly actually winning the game, we could have easily been like 3 or 4 down, but we could have also been 3 or 4 up. So I guess it depends which way you look at it in that sense. But I thought we coped. I'm actually proud that the team, held their own and coped without Lerma, without Guehi, without our manager on the sidelines today. It's good news that he seems to be all right. But I just, these referees, this league, it's just, the whole thing is just corrupt, I swear. Because it's not just me saying it, it's like so many people are saying the same thing. All the clubs that are at the top of the league, the so-called bigger clubs, they're always getting the decisions. And clubs like us, we have decisions like that are overlooked, and I just can't for the life of me understand it.
Yeah, trust me, you're not the only person. And it's not only Palace as well. I mean, look at Man United versus Wolves in the first game of the season. Wolves got absolutely robbed. They got robbed by a referee decision as well. It's confusing.
I mean,
but then again, it all depends on...
that guy in the face.
Yeah. Yeah, it depends on how the Premier League react to it. I mean, now this...
It's unbelievable. I mean, obviously the match is not... I mean, ultimately that decision has had a huge impact on the result. But it's not just the referee's fault. Obviously, we could have made it 2-0 and stuff, and we could have defended a bit better. I say we could have defended better. There's nothing we could have done for that first goal. Like, I mean, we always tend to concede amazing goals, and that was just one of them. And then but the thing is, right, it's just, I don't think these referees or people that look at the decisions realise how big they are. Because for a club like the game today, I'm not going to say if we won because it was level before that decision. If we drew the game, we would have been on 8 points after 5 games, which would have been our second best start to a Premier League season ever. That would have been really big for us. And because of incompetence from the referee, once again, we leave Villa Park empty-handed after doing all that work, after the players put in a huge shift. Like, it's just, I mean, what can you do? Like, literally, what?
Yeah,
I don't know what you can do.
So against Fulham now, is it a case where we have to get 3 points?
I think we do. I want to say as well that the link-up play from Mateta and Edouard was good for the goal. I'm glad to see that they keep combining, but yeah, I mean, you can't obviously deny as well that if Martinez didn't slip, that goal probably wouldn't have gone in as well. But I mean, maybe that's a bit of a negative way of looking at it, but that's just how I feel. I think we should be looking to beat Fulham because the games after that are quite tough, isn't it? Man United's after that, isn't it?
Yeah, double against United. I think.
Not even.
I think we've got Forest, we've got United, we've got some difficult games coming up. We have. But yeah, I guess time will tell if we can get the job done. Hopefully, the players are fired up after that and we bounce back. These things, unfortunately, will happen. But no, I just didn't think they happen on this level, which is it's crazy. But
it's just, I mean, Richards, I thought probably he did really well in defence, didn't he? Considering that Guehi normally plays superbly at the back, he came in. I just feel really sorry for the guy. I mean, the guy gets limited minutes. He nearly completes a 90 minutes of us with a victory, and has it taken away from him. From what? A brilliant challenge. Like, literally, there's how can there be any debate? You can see the ball move. You can see the ball hit his foot, and it moves. He gets the ball. He gets the teeniest little bit of Watkins. I mean, are we really saying that there can't be any contact on the attacker from the defender if he gets the ball first? Because it wasn't big contact; it was marginal contact.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't know. Well, according to Darren England, that's the case. That's the case. VAR clearly called it back
well, no.
for him to check it, and he still
wanna-
went with
oh.
his decision. Yeah, I guess
That's the thing. I mean,
ego
Darren
and refs don't
England
work.
I hate Darren England. I want to bloody kill him, honestly. But it's just.
I don't go that far, but I know what you're trying to say. Yeah, I think he should be. I genuinely don't think he should be a Premier League ref. I don't think he should. And I think we should put a complaint. But look, Henry, thank you for coming on to the show. Thank you for having us say. Hopefully, we're way more smiles after the Fulham game. Take care.
Let's hope so.
See you later. Let's bring on Josh next. Josh, how you doing, bro?
Right?
Yeah,
all right, man.
Well,
how are you?
I wouldn't say I'm all right. I'll be real. After that, I mean, 3-1. It feels wild saying 3-1. I mean, there was a chance that we could have lost that game. They scored a fantastic first goal, but it's just the way that we lost that game. It just doesn't sit right with me. But what did you make of it?
So I missed the first half, but I saw the second half until they scored Villa.
Yeah.
So after we went 1-0 up, I was like, okay. I just felt the game was a bit at times too chaotic. I didn't feel like we controlled it well enough. Of course, we're not trying to be like Man City where we're trying to, have 60% possession. Clearly, what we're trying to do is play on the counter attack. But I felt like we kind of helped Villa as well at the same time in terms of how chaotic it was, And they have a lot of quality. When you have someone like DRB, Watkins, Bailey on the break is tough, innit? And without Gahey as well, from what I saw, Richards did all right, but without that presence of Gay at the back, it definitely did hinder us as well. Because you could see at times a lack of organization. You saw a lot of last-ditch tackles and stuff like that. And those are nice to have in it, but it's not something that you want to be seeing too much in it. So in my eyes, because this season we've been solid defensively. We don't really give much chances away, but today it was just a bit...
Do you think it's down to the players, as you mentioned, not being available? I think Gahey and Anderson, they have a fantastic partnership. But saying that, I think Richards still had a solid game. I thought Hughes had a very good game as well.
Yeah.
But then again, there are a few injuries. I think the biggest question that we can ask is maybe the subs. And I'm not saying that because we lost 3-1, even whilst watching it when it was 1-0, when it was 1-0 up. I was thinking whether we could do subs a bit earlier because the players seemed a bit fatigued in the second half, and they put it all for the 9 minutes. But then again, it's up to the coaches to make that decision. Of course, Roy wasn't there today. I don't know if he still made the decisions. I don't know how exactly it worked. But what did you make of our game management? Of course, Mateta came on. That's fantastic because he's managed to score a goal for IU. Get an assist, and Edouard scored a goal. But the Hamada sub, he came a bit late. What did you make of the subs today? Was he happy with that?
I mean, those are just the cards that he has to deal with. It reminds me when I was seeing you guys last year with Vieira, in terms of Vieira didn't really have much options to bring off the bench. And it felt exactly the same this season where, apart from, he brought on Al-Mohamada, who else can he realistically bring on? Lerma's out injured, IU, Olise is out, Franca's out. So it's sort of like, who can you bring off the bench that you can trust? It's not just bringing on someone for the sake of it. Otherwise, you could just bring on Riedewald or something like that. It's about who's the type of players that we can bring on in these games where it's a bit, chaotic. Who can we bring on that we can trust? And unfortunately, there isn't really anybody on the bench. Like even strikers, all your strikers, they're all playing. So it's a thing of you can't really do much, really.
Yeah, I understand that. So do you think it's a case of this squad is just lacking from injuries? And look, if you consider all the injuries, I thought we still done a relatively good job out of position defensively as well. I know you said that Villa created a few chances, but overall, considering the injuries, I don't think it was as bad. I think as the game went on, I think it was more down to fatigue more than anything, and that's why it made that sub for Edouard and Hamada came on. When you look at some of the positives today, which I think we created chances in the second half, as they maybe could have finished one of them, or there were a few opportunities as well in the second half for Palace. It wasn't all Villa.
Yeah.
Do you think when you take this performance, maybe IU could be fit again? Elise, if he might be back. Remember, he had 11 assists for Palace last year, which was absolutely great, and we haven't still seen Elise. Do you think against Fulham, if Palace put on a similar performance, that they could get all 3 points, or do you think more needs to be done?
No, I think Palace can always get 3 points. I feel like with the quality the team has, especially on the break, and when you have someone like an Eze who can do something out of nothing, there's always a chance against anybody apart from really the top 6, where you're sort of up against it. So I wouldn't say there isn't ever a game with the rest of the teams in the league to look at and say, yeah, this is a bit worrying. But it's just a thing of, in terms of, because I know the fans were really getting on about the lack of transfers, and you can kind of see it with the lack of depth. There has been a lot of injuries as well, but there isn't many ready-made players that you can bring in. So you brought in Hughes for Lerma, that's good. Richards for Gehi, that's good. But who's going to come on for Ayew now? Who's going to come in for? I don't know. Maybe even another midfielder that could come on, because you should have 4 capable midfielders. So it's sort of like, it's a bit thin in that sense. But no, that performance can still get you wins, but it's just in a sense where you don't want it to be continuously chaotic like that. There has to be an element of control.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it adds that pressure now to the Fulham game, which I think they beat Luton 1-0. I need to see how they got on because they was playing at the same time. But that's a game where ideally in this game, if we picked up 1 point, that would have been fine. I would have been fine with 1-0. They scored a fantastic goal, but it's just the way that we lost in the final 3 minutes that caused me to get a bit mad. But look, overall, in terms of the start to the season, I know Roy wasn't available as well. Villa was always going to be a difficult game. Do you think Palace are still heading in the right direction despite the result?
Yeah, no, still a positive start, 100%. I think, you know what, when you're 1-0 up with 5 minutes to go, or it was like 3 minutes, I think he scored in like the 88th minute. It's always a bittersweet feeling. Sometimes where let's say you're 1-0 up, but they score in like the 70th minute, is a bit like, you know what, and they're going to win, you're a bit. But to lose the game that late on is quite frustrating. But the players have to pick themselves up. And I didn't see the penalty. Was the penalty that bad? Like, was it?
You when you watch it back, then you'll see it. But I just think it's ridiculous. That's my opinion, anyways. He looked at a VAR monitor for like 3 minutes, for 3 to 4 minutes, felt like. But I thought he still got the decision wrong as well. But look, Josh, thank you for coming on, bro. Hopefully we catch up with you again soon. But appreciate it. Take care, man.
You too, bye.
Thank you. That was Josh having to say. We're going to wrap up in just a few minutes' time. We'll go through some of the comments before wrap up. As always, if you're enjoying it, let's hit the like button, people, and subscribe if you're new here. There's going to be, of course, a lot of build up to the Fulham game, especially after that as well. Let's just see some of the comments. We need good players, not poor excuses. That's it. Off to the pub, says Tom. Fair enough. Errol says our defense was really good today, all apart from Ward, who struggled. Hughes was fantastic. Our final pass and finishing last down. I want to quickly stop on that point. I don't want to pick out Joe Ward in particular because I don't think he was the reason why we lost this game. But we need to seriously look at this position now. We need to ask questions about it because I've been screaming, it feels like for years now, about the right back position and the club neglecting it. I don't know why. I don't know why we just always think that position is not as important, but it is our main weakness. And when you have Slot going down the right-hand side and behind him you have Joe Ward, that is horrific. That I can't even think about that in my nightmares. That's another level of craziness. But the thing is, I think we're reaching a point now, slowly, of we have to consider whether Joe Ward should start or not. In the first half, he had that 1 or 2 shaking moments. Second half, he wasn't as bad. He had a few tackles, but then again, his legs are catching up to him. And this is my biggest worry. And I've said this as well. Over time, his legs will slowly start, creeping up to him. And he won't have that pace that he had before. Not that he had a tremendous pace, but he will start losing it even further. And I think sooner rather than later, because I just don't see how we're going to, if we do, then that's fantastic. But I just don't see a situation of surviving with Joe Ward for 38 games. I just don't. I think some rotation needs to happen, whether that's Richards going to right back for the rest of the season or playing more often at right back and giving Wardy a rest. But I think the game management needs to be a bit better with Joe Ward because we've just always, I don't know why, we just put that position aside and we just need to strengthen it because the alternative option coming off the bench, and this is why I got annoyed when both of them were signed to a new deal. You had to pick one of Joe Ward on the final client and bring in another right back. We signed Nathaniel Klein and Joe Ward. Now, we can drop Joe Ward and bring in Kleiny, but then again, it's not going to be any better. we're still going to be struggling there because we have depth for depth's sake, but we don't have quality down there. And we haven't had quality because we haven't replaced Aaron Wan-Bissaka for all them years. So I think going forward, the club needs to take this right back position a bit more seriously because it seems like there's a trend going on, a trend that I expected going into the season of targeting Joe Ward. And it does work. It does work. Not every single time, but for the majority of the time, it does work. That's our main weakness. You can have weaknesses in your side, but our main weakness is so damn clear and available that teams just know what to do when they go against us. Target Joe Ward, and you'll have one or two opportunities like that. And as the game went on, that's the thing. With Jordan Ayew there, maybe he has that support, but without Jordan Ayew, he didn't have that support as much. And you saw Schlupp not being as close to Joe Ward a few times. And then he gets exposed. Now, as I said, it's not Joe Ward's fault that we lost this game. But then again, playing Joe Ward as our main right back, when you look at the rest of the league, how many teams would Joe Ward get into? He's a fantastic captain, fantastic servant as well. And I would have liked him to stay at Palace, but not as a starter. And this is our weakness, and we are getting exposed to this position. So hopefully he does manage to survive. Hopefully things do improve, but I just don't see it improving. I just think he's a clear weakness. And until we solve that position, which we might be able to do with, maybe Richards playing at right back, even though he's not a right back, it is going to be an issue. And once again, towards the latter stages of this game, it was an issue for me anyways. Ryan saying, your defense was terrible. Villa should have been 4 up at half time. Then again, Ryan is not. I can tell that you're a Villa fan, but then Palace had a few opportunities in the second half as well. Tim saying, why who do you put in for Wardy? I mean, I agree. We need a right back upgrade. Richard shouldn't play right back. Klein. Marjoram, too young for chance. Surely, I think it's going to be Richards. I think it should be Richards in the short term. I think Klein doesn't really make a difference. But then again, just playing with Joe Ward for all these games, I think it's going to be a problem. Maybe there's a bit of rotation in cup games, but I just don't think it's good enough. Edward says, sucks losing, but I think some early changes would have killed the game off. Need to kill teams off when we're 1-0 up. Yeah, I agree. I think the subs today were a bit poor. And I was thinking that even when we were 1-0 up, because you could tell the players were fatigued and we just needed fresh legs, especially if we were going to defend like that. And yeah, but then again, it didn't really come down to the subs because what's it called? We managed to survive, and then that penalty decision really killed us off, to be fair. I'd rather Holding go how to go at right back. I think Richards is a bit more mobile than Holding to go at right back, but I understand that that's your opinion. Mohammed says, drop Anderson if the game is about performance. I think that's a bit harsh. I think Anderson being one of our better players the season. Graham says, Roy won't bench Wardy. I think that's another fear. I agree, Graham. I don't think he will. I don't think he will. But then again, why haven't we solved that position? Why? I mean, it's not even just this summer window. We've had previous windows to solve it. Wan-Bissaka's left years ago now. And we just haven't. And we've known about Nathan Ferguson as well for a while now, about his injury concern. So it's not like there's any excuse around it. We've just decided to not strengthen in that area, and it just doesn't make any major sense to me. Tim saying, disagree on Richards at right back. He has the pace, but doesn't overlap, doesn't deliver across. But then again, yes, he doesn't do that. But I think for the meanwhile, he can be a decent defensive option. Right now, teams are targeting us defensively. I don't think Joe Ward is contributing anything in attack where you would think his overlaps are a massive problem. Yes, he has had contributions, but I don't think his attacking game is that great. But one thing that I do know is Richard's defensive game will be better than Wardy's defensive game. At least like that, we can be tight at the back and cause teams a bit more problem. When you have Richards at right back, you won't be able to run at Richards as you do with Joe Ward. Then what? You're going to target Tyreek Mitchell? Mitchell had a relatively solid game today. So I think it causes the opposition a bit more problems in terms of how to get in behind. We were solid defensively out of possession, but when they did get in behind, it was pretty much down that side. And there's one or two errors that shouldn't be happening as well down the right-hand side with Joe Ward. I think in the first half, he had that misplaced pass, which was, I don't know what he's thinking, for example. He just has these dodgy moments that nearly cost us the game. He had a similar moment against Brentford as well. You just gave the ball away in crazy areas. And I think with Richards, we won't even have them problems there. So I think it's a case of just trying to be solid defensively. I think Richards offers that as well. Errol says Mitchell held his own in the first half. Villa then focused on Ward in the second half and had the joy down there. We didn't take our chances in the final third. I think that's a great reflection. I think Mitchell had a great game against Bailey and also Matty Cash as well, especially in the first half. Matty Cash he had one or two opportunities, but it wasn't down to Mitchell's mistakes. Mitchell kept them as quiet as possible. Paul Merton, Villa legend, says, Villa fan in peace. I'd just like to say I really hope Roy's okay and soon discharged, fit and healthy. Special mention to John Duran for his wonder goal. Yeah, fantastic goal. That's one thing you can't take away. And that was, deserved goal. It's the penalty which is the biggest question mark about it. About that, this result 3-1, because it just didn't feel like a 3-1 result. Maybe Villa could have won 2-1, but that penalty just agitates me. Cody said, great performance from Richards, who's and Mateta when he subbed in. Mateta's becoming a difference maker, 100% Cody. Klein is quicker and cleaner defender over Ward. Well, if that's the case, then Roy needs to make a decision. But then again, he's made Wardy a captain now, so would he drop him? I don't know. Energy was low in the end. Should have brought in a Hamada earlier. Luke, 100% agree. 100% agree. And I was thinking that whilst we're 1-0 up, forget about 1-0. Because you can tell Schlupp was very tired, and his stamina is a problem. He's not fit enough to play 9-minute games. We need to, against Fulham, just please, enough for Jeffrey Schlupp, with all due respect. He's not built for 9-minute games. Until he gets his fitness back up to the levels that he needs to, then yeah, we can start talking. But for now, he isn't ready. Tim saying, so just for pace at the back, certainly that's an option. I guess you work out the attack if you choose to upgrade the defense there. Yeah, Tim. Because right now, even in the second half, we saw it balls over the top at times. Ward is a massive target, and I just don't like it as well. Listen to what Bollocks is saying. Hit the thumbs up, people, as well. But it wasn't a clear and obvious error because there's a debate. I mean, you could see that it wasn't a penalty. If you watch football, you'll be able to tell that's not a penalty. And you got ex-Premier League referee Mike Dean, who had all the angles, who said it wasn't a penalty as well. And that's the reason why VAR pulled it back, because it was a penalty. That's why it took a while as well. You can see that Richards clearly wins the ball, and Watkins falls down as Richards is winning the ball. So it wasn't a penalty. It's not. When that decision actually happened, and when he was at the VAR screen, even before the VAR screen, I was so calm because I was like, there's no way he's going to give that penalty, because it wasn't a penalty. Guy was saying, if we're talking about starting Richards, I'd rather us play him in the centre and move Anderson to right back. Some would disagree, and pace might be an issue, but he's played there for Denmark and looked decent. Look, one of the two, regardless of who plays there, it just can't be Wardy. And for me, it can't be Klein. It has to be one of Richards or Anderson for the meanwhile. But I don't think Anderson will go right back. I hear where you're coming from with Denmark, but him and Gay have a fantastic partnership. So for me, I think that will remain. The other option is now Richards. I think it should be Richards. There's a good spirit with the players, should beat Fulham as well. And I'll end it on that note, people, because yes, there is a good spirit. I feel sorry for the players today because I thought they gave 110% effort. You saw it on the pitch with the challenge as well, but we lost. We lost to a very dodgy decision. But then again, you can make that debate. Maybe we could have done a bit better as well. But thank you to everyone who's tuned in. Thank you to everyone who's called in as well, left their comments. Really appreciate you all. If you have enjoyed it, hit the like button and subscribe to Normal Sound future Palace content. We'll be back very soon. There will be no player ratings, unfortunately, today because Patrick is ill, so he can't be able to make it. So we'll be back relatively soon, probably tomorrow or the day after, talking about God knows what. It might be the referee. But until then, up the Palace. Keep safe, people.